The MiG-21. A jet that defined an era, a symbol of Cold War skies, and a machine that has refused to die for over 6 decades. Designed by the Soviet Union in the 1950s and produced in staggering numbers, the MiG-21 holds the distinction of being the most widely produced supersonic jet in aviation history. It's fast, fierce, and famously unforgiving. This is not just a fighter, it's a flying legend. In this deep dive, we'll explore how this sharp-nosed delta-wing jet became one of the most iconic and enduring aircraft in military aviation. We'll break down its development, combat performance, strengths and weaknesses, and ask the ultimate question: how did a jet so simple become so feared? To understand the MiG-21, we have to go back to the post-Korean War years. Air combat had changed dramatically. Speed, altitude, and missile technology were advancing at a breakneck pace. The Soviet Union needed a new interceptor that could climb fast, strike fast, and outfly the latest American fighters. That's when Mikoyan Gurevich stepped in with the MiG-21, or as NATO would call it, the fishbed. It wasn't about being elegant. It wasn't even about being versatile. The MiG-21 was a missile with a man inside. A rocket on wings, built to pierce the sky, close in on enemy bombers or fighters, fire its missiles or guns, and vanish. First flown in 1956 and entering service in 1959, the MiG-21 was revolutionary for its time. With its tailed delta wing design, shock cone air intake, and turbojet engine, it could exceed Mach 2. That made it one of the first true supersonic jets in the Soviet arsenal. It was small, light, and cheap to build. That's partly why over 11,000 of them were produced, a number unmatched by any other jet fighter. And because of its simplicity, the MiG-21 was exported to more than 60 countries. From Vietnam to Egypt, from India to Poland, this jet became the face of the Soviet-aligned air forces across Asia, Africa, and Europe. In the air, the MiG-21 was a dogfighter's jet. It had blistering acceleration, a tight turning radius at high speeds, and a minimal radar signature. Its delta wings allowed it to pull hard turns, but they also made the aircraft unstable at lower speeds. Pilots had to be precise. There was little room for error. The MiG-21 taught its pilots to fly like their lives depended on it, because they did. It wasn't equipped with modern fly-by-wire systems or digital avionics. It was raw. If you mishandled it, it bit back. But in the hands of an experienced pilot, the MiG-21 was deadly. The cockpit was notoriously cramped. Visibility to the rear was poor. Its radar was primitive, especially by Western standards, and its early variants had limited fuel capacity, giving it a short combat range. But those limitations were accepted because the doctrine was simple: fast scramble, intercept, shoot, and return. It was never meant to loiter. It was meant to strike like a viper. The jet first proved its mettle in the skies over Vietnam. The North Vietnamese Air Force, using MiG-21s supplied by the Soviets and Chinese, faced off against American F-4 Phantoms, F-105 Thunderchiefs, and even F-8 Crusaders. Despite the technological advantages held by the Americans, the MiG-21s scored impressive kills. They used their smaller size and maneuverability to get the jump on American jets, often appearing suddenly and vanishing just as fast. American pilots grew to respect, and fear, the fishbed. The MiG-21's kill-to-loss ratio wasn't always in its favor, especially against better-trained pilots with advanced radar and missiles. But its low cost and high availability meant that losses could be replaced quickly. It became a war of attrition, and in that kind of war, the MiG-21's simplicity was its greatest asset. In the Middle East, the MiG-21 flew for Egypt and Syria during their wars with Israel. Israeli pilots flying Mirages and later F-4s faced wave after wave of these jets. While many were shot down, they still inflicted damage and played a critical role in the Arab air forces strategies. Once again, the MiG-21 was not the superior jet technologically, but its numbers and ease of deployment kept it in the fight. Then came the Indo-Pakistani Wars. In 1971, Indian MiG-21s dominated Pakistani airspace. One of the most famous moments was when an Indian MiG-21 shot down a Pakistani F-104 Starfighter, the West's supposed missile with a man in it. It was a humiliating loss for the US-made fighter, and a symbolic victory for the Soviet bloc. What makes the MiG-21 even more astonishing is its longevity. Variants of the MiG-21 have flown for over 60 years. Even today, some countries still operate them, albeit with heavy upgrades, modern radar, avionics, and weapon systems. These upgraded fishbeds are proof of how adaptable the original design was. In countries like India, Vietnam, and even Romania, the MiG-21 has seen its life extended again and again. Why did it last so long? Because it was cheap, fast, and easy to maintain. It could operate from rough runways. It didn't require a massive support infrastructure. In an era where modern fighters cost tens of millions of dollars and require constant maintenance, the MiG-21 offers a different philosophy: do more with less. Of course, it wasn't without flaws. The aircraft's early radar systems were barely useful beyond visual range. Its fuel tanks limited it to short missions unless equipped with drop tanks. It was vulnerable to surprise attacks from more advanced aircraft. And perhaps most importantly, it was never designed for multirole operations. The MiG-21 was a fighter and an interceptor, that's it. Later generations of fighters combined air-to-air and air-to-ground roles in one platform. The MiG-21 couldn't keep up in that regard. But the Soviet Union kept improving it. Over 15 main variants were built, from the original MiG-21F to the more advanced MiG-21 bis. The bis variant had a better engine, improved avionics, and could carry more missiles. Export models like the MiG-21 Megafarads and MiG-21 provided valuable capabilities to client states. And over time, dozens of upgrade programs from countries like India with its Bison variant gave the aircraft modern combat relevance. The MiG-21 also left a cultural mark. It appeared in films, military parades, and museum collections. It became a symbol of raw, mechanical Soviet engineering, cold, functional, and brutally effective. It wasn't flashy like the F-14 Tomcat. It didn't have the technological complexity of the F-16 or the versatility of the Mirage 2000. But it worked. It was reliable. It delivered. There's also a psychological aspect. When you know you're flying a plane with few digital safety nets, you become more aware, more focused. That's how MiG-21 pilots describe it. It demands your respect. It doesn't let you relax. It's constantly whispering in your ear, don't mess up. And that's why many pilots, even today, look back at their time flying the MiG-21 with a mix of awe and terror. It's not an aircraft that pampers you. It's not an aircraft that hides your mistakes. But it teaches you to fly, to fight, to survive. And that, more than anything, is why the MiG-21 has endured. In today's world of stealth fighters and unmanned drones, the MiG-21 is clearly outdated. But its influence still lingers. Many modern Russian and Chinese jets evolved from lessons learned during the MiG-21's development. Even Western designs borrowed ideas from its layout and combat performance. And the idea of a cheap, fast interceptor hasn't disappeared, only evolved. The MiG-21 is a paradox. It's obsolete, yet still relevant. It's primitive, yet advanced for its time. It was feared, it was flawed, but it was also foundational. In many ways, it's the Alaska 47 of the skies: simple, effective, mass-produced, and deadly in the right hands. As we look to the future of air combat, with sixth-generation fighters and AI-powered drones, the MiG-21 stands as a monument to an earlier era, an era where pilots fought eyeball to eyeball, where speed and instinct mattered more than computer codes, and where the roar of a jet engine could mean life or death in seconds. That's the legacy of the MiG-21. A survivor, a killer, a classic.